I don't have an original signature on my contract. Should I be worried? Let's get started. Hey everybody, this is Alex Barthet with thelienzone.com. Today I'm going to answer a question I got from a client via email not too long ago. And the question was, if I don't have an original signature from the other side on my contract, should I be worried? Do I have an enforceable contract? Is there something else I should be doing to protect myself because I don't have an original signature? Well, the answer has a couple of layers to it, and it's more complicated than one would think. So the average layperson, non-lawyer, believes that if the signature or document isn't an original document, that somehow it is going to be challenged in court, or the other side can argue that it's not authorized or it's a forgery. And all of that is possible. But I will tell you, having litigated hundreds, if not thousands, of cases in this office over the last almost 25 years, it is astonishingly rare that we receive claims from the other side that the document is not an original or that the signature is not an original. Understand, when we present evidence in court, it is almost always a photocopy, and it is very rarely challenged. So what can you do to protect yourself if you don't have an original? My advice generally is try to obtain correspondence surrounding the transmission of the document to show that the person that provided it to you knew that it was coming or going to their office. So let me give you an example of what I mean. We had a case about 6 months ago, and we represented a subcontractor, and the contractor claimed that the change orders that were part of our claim were not authorized, even though they were signed by the project manager. So what we did in the case is we compiled not only the executed change order with the signature. Now, we only had a copy because everything was electronic, but we married them to the email correspondence that went to most of the contractor staff, including the contractor's president. So we had an email with our proposed change order from us to the project manager, the project executive, and the president of the contractor's company. And then, in addition, we had the signed change order come back from the contractor, and when it came back, it was also copied to all of the same people we copied, including the president of the construction company. Meanwhile, no one argued or complained at that time, or even any time shortly thereafter, about the document itself. So when we went to try to resolve the case, we presented all of this evidence that it was not only authorized, but they knew about it, because look at all of these emails surrounding the transaction, which in this case was the execution of this change order. And their arguments melted away. So, number one, make sure that you try to obtain correspondence to or from the people that authorize the transaction, whether it's the contract, a change order, a release, a waiver, whatever document it may be, that the people that need to get it are attached to the email chain, and they receive copies and related correspondence. Number two, check to see if your contract requires only certain people execute the agreement. So for example, we see contracts sometimes that say only the project executive has the authority to order new work or sign change orders. If you have a contract that says that, you need to make sure that you endeavor to get those folks to execute the agreement, and know that if they don't sign it, you may run a risk later that the document was not properly authorized. Let me interject a word of caution about your belief that because you have an original, you are fully protected. That is not the case. There is nothing that stops someone from forging a signature. So you may have an original document that was signed by somebody with their hand and a blue ink pen, that you are holding that you believe, well, now that I have the original, I don't have to worry about anything. That is not the case. And the reason is that just because you have an original doesn't mean it's not a forgery. Again, it is very rare that we run into claims that people argue in a legal case that someone didn't have authority to execute a document, or that the signature that you believe to be original or having authority didn't have authority or was not an original, it was a forgery. In short, I wouldn't overthink it. I would add safeguards like we discussed at the beginning of this video, which is make sure that you obtain correspondence related to the transaction and the transmission of the documents to prove that the necessary people had notice of the document. If you have questions about your contract or change orders, send me an email, alex@barthet.com, and don't forget to check us out on Instagram @TheLienZone. See you next time.